So here's a question for you. So, John, how do you use your spiritual principles when you've got negative people around you at work all day long? It's a great question, and I want to dive into it. Negative people in general are fear based. They're fear based, and if they're truly negative and they're coming to you and they're dumping their negativity on you, it's because you've become a place where they can safely be negative. You actually give them permission to be negative just by not saying something about it or putting your finger on it. And to them, that negativity is power. I'm a victim, which makes people go, oh, which makes people show them some sort of compassion or love. That's where they're getting their love, is by you giving them the permission to vent and giving them permission to be negative. I call them Eeyores, like in Winnie the Pooh. Life is so hard. When I get around that kind of energy, it brings me down. It bothers me, right? The interesting thing is negative people at work are all doing it because of them wanting their own power, or they don't want someone to come in who's going to make them have to expend more power. And that's an interesting thing. You come in and you're better than they are, and you do the job faster and quicker, means they have to work harder to keep up, and they'll just be negative sometimes. But here's the cool thing about negative people, especially the ones at work. When they come up to you and they're negative, you say, "Listen, I don't have time for negative today. I can talk to you another time." You say something as simple as that. The next thing that's going to happen is that person is going to go to somebody else, and they're going to point at you, and they're going to say, "Can you believe what she just said to me? Can you believe what he just said to me? I can't believe you became the next negative thing that they're talking about." Right? But here's the really interesting part. You saying, "I can't deal with your negativity today," on a subconscious level tells them that they're negative. So it's an opportunity for them to go, "Am I negative?" And they may go to the next person and say, "She said I was totally negative." And that person might say, "Well, you are." And they may have a transforming experience. But you can't you can't let it happen and not put your finger on it and expect it to change. Putting your finger on it is they go, oh, they gives them a chance to recognize it. The one Yoda quote that I love is, named must your fears be before banished you can. You've got to put your finger on it. You have to let people experience what it is they're doing. And, when you're in the workplace, your job is to do the best you possibly can. And someone's negative around you. Now, here's the other thing. If it's your boss, the best thing you can do in a boss situation is just do the best you possibly can. And if it comes to the point where it's not good enough, you need to say, I'm doing everything I can, and I'm sorry that you feel it's not good enough. Maybe this isn't the job for me. But that brings up another fear in you, doesn't it? Brings up the fear of, I need this job, right? But how many of you would leave your job today if you could do something you love and have enough money? Probably all of you, right? If you hate your job and you could leave it today and go make money and do something you love, you'd do it in a heartbeat, I'll bet. Right? So it's not about the job. It's about your belief. I believe I have to do this job for money. I believe I can do amazing, incredible things that I love and enjoy and make all the money I'll ever need. It's a very different belief, isn't it? That belief is the key to you getting what you want in your life. That belief is the key to achieving a life of joy, happiness, and abundance. It's all about you making your workplace what you want it to be. And I don't mean necessarily transforming where you are. Your workplace is where you choose to work. And so, now, I will tell you this. The more positive you bring to your workplace, the more positive your workplace will be. And the negative people will cease to be around you because they won't be able to stand your positivity. But if you change the environment to a positive place, a loving place, You're going to get more employees that are working there. You're going to get people who really like working with you, which takes some weight off of you in the workplace. You're going to also find people who are like in a like mind with you, and they're going to start believing the same way you do, and the whole experience will change. And the negative people will self-eject. If they're not willing to shift into the new positive here at work, see, that can be your next belief. I am creating a joyful, happy work environment here in this place. I am creating that. I am bringing more joy to this workplace. Very different experiences. So if you're looking at how to deal with workplace issues, the first thing I would say is recognize who's negative. And the second thing I would say is ask yourself, what is their fear? What is their fear? What is the thing that's making them so negative? And oftentimes you can take that negative, that fear, and you can find ways to negate it. For instance, when I did my corporate speaking, one of the things I would do is I would bring a person on stage and I'd teach them in 5 minutes to crack a whip and take targets out of my hand. But one of the things that happened during that routine is they've already learned to crack the whip, and then I pull a target out and I hold it out, and they freak out. They get like all, what is their concern? Their concern is they're going to hurt me. And I look at them and I say, look at me. And I exhale. I promise you're not going to hurt me. I literally go directly at their fear and I negate it. I promise you're not going to hurt me. And that's the key. Find out where they are and negate the fear so that they're no longer negative. Or if they're willing, if they're not willing to do that and they're going to stay in negativity, they will self-eject. But if you can alleviate the fear, you can change the work environment. You can change the issues at work, conflict resolution. I've told this story in another video, and I want to share it in this one. There was a time I was directing the Tennessee Renaissance Festival, and I walked into the office to see the owner of the festival, my boss, in a screaming match with the top performer I hired that year because I was the entertainment director. So I was the middle management between these two, and I walk in and they're screaming at each other. So the first thing I could do is find out the information. I said to the bookkeeper, so what's going on? He said, well, the musician falsified his Social Security number on his paperwork, and the IRS contacted us and told us to withhold 30% of his pay until it's resolved. So my first thought is, what is their fear? My boss is yelling because the IRS is coming for him. My musician is yelling because he just got a check that was 30% lower than he needed. Very big difference. And they both had a different fear. He wanted his money. He didn't want the IRS to come after him. So I knew that my musician had one single contract for the whole run of the show. It was a 5-week show. And he was going to get a check halfway through and one at the end. And this was the check that was coming halfway through. So I turned to my boss, the owner of the fair, and I said, he's on a single contract for this entire festival. Can we give him his full check today and take the 30% out of his final check? He said, yeah. I turned to the musician and I said, you're going to get your full check today, and we have a couple of weeks to get all the paperwork resolved so your final check will be full as well. The fight stopped. The argument stopped. The conflict ended. There was no more workplace issue. But I'll tell you the thing that's, before I actually gave them the solution, the thing that actually stopped the yelling was the part where I stepped in between them and I said, hey guys, this is my fault. Because really what they were arguing about was not about the IRS and not about money. They were arguing about respect. And what is respect? Respect is a form of love. And they were not feeling, they were feeling disrespected. And why were they feeling disrespected? Because they were both yelling fault and guilt at each other. When you're in fault and guilt, it's the fear of failing, the fear of not being loved. And so I stepped in and I said, guys, this is my fault. I took all the fault and guilt and all the fear of not being loved out of their argument and took it upon myself. And by taking it upon myself, they stopped yelling. They stopped arguing. And then I offered a solution when they could listen to it without fear. And once they listened to it without fear, everything was resolved. But the point is, the workplace issue is, if there's an issue at all, if you have a negative feeling, there is a fear associated with it. It's a matter of finding out what the fear is. And sometimes it's hard to identify fear. If you have a negative emotion about something, there is a fear involved. If you have a positive emotion about something, love is involved. Love and fear. So whenever you feel mad, sad, frustrated, argumentative, ask yourself, what's the fear? Or whenever someone comes to you, negative, harsh, mean, cruel, ask yourself, what is the fear? And then negate the fear. It's the fastest and quickest way to solve workplace issues. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you, my friends, for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure that you've subscribed and you like it, you share it, but also comment below it. Let's get this community talking about these topics and spreading this information out far and wide so we can change the world for the better. Thank you.